Everybody, and welcome back to another casted game on Age of Bison. Coming here with a solo cast. Casting my own game, breaking a lot of taboo and rules here today. This was our round 4 series of Team P, Platypus and Pete over here, versus some relatively unknowns, at least for the server. Komedi and, I probably pronounced this wrong, but Jaharns. Two players. I know Jaharn's played a lot. He's about a 1500 and 1v1, so very strong player. Komedi. I might have this, actually no. Comedi's the really kind of the stronger one on paper, but this matchup and this map in particular really promoted a lot of good teamwork between everybody. So my plan is to cast this game and then also cast the rest of the games of our series. So without further ado, we'll get into it. Right off the bat, my teammate Pete, he was having problems with his mouse, right? And these are just the type of things that, it happens in games, but it can kind of totally throw you off. When we were playing, a little bit of insight, he was talking about like, this didn't work. Oh, I'm going to be late. Oh, I'm going to be delayed. I think that initial clamp was kind of throwing him off, but we are here on the map of Yukon. This is kind of a fun one. It's kind of open, but at the same time, there's like this really profitable north part over here. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Pete accidentally sent some of his CDBs. So like this is just a game of like kind of a disaster. And again, we don't really know too much about our opponents. We know that, like I said, Komedi plays a pretty mean Brits, and we know that the German player is pretty solid with Germany as well. So again, pretty open map, a lot kind of going on here. And on our side, we picked France and Malta. The idea being that France is really good with Cav. They like to brawl in H2, but they can go H3 if they need to. Malta, I feel like in team games, Malta is just way more comfortable. In 1v1, it can be very difficult. It really struggles into a lot of the meta civs, but in a 2v2, which tends to have longer H2 and go into the late game, the scaling, just the setup of Malta feels really smooth. So I really enjoy the Civ. I'm not too much of a fixed gun enjoyer, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. All right, let's take a look. Hopefully here. Oh boy, yeah, Pete was distracted. All right. Brit deck, Team Infantry. Looks like he is settling for the Infinite 2 Vills. This has been quite a bit of contention with the changes that's happened with Brit losing 3 Infinite Vills, but looks like a very standard kind of British deck. Looks like he can go Longbow, he can go Musketeer. Eco cards are in his deck, so he can afford quite a bit. And, Brit is very powerful with its Manor Boom. Germany, Rush. Okay, interesting. Looks like he is set up for kind of, again, standard German deck. Very solid here. Nothing really too new. In fact, no new cards. Even keeping the Polish Winged Hussars. Alright, we'll do Pete. 2v2 land, again, fairly standard French deck with a little bit, this card right here can be really amazing throughout the course of a game. You don't always see it in 1v1s, but, all of your cavalry being cheaper, plus their hand cav being very deadly, plus, cav combat, it's an amazing combo. Something else, too, is France has these team cards, too, that do affect, the Order Huss and the ranged infantry of Malta, which can really, be effective on the scaling of the crossbows. And for me, 2v2. Pretty boring deck, pretty boring player. Hopefully not too boring of a cast. And, again, my kind of plan was to either be able to pivot to Archaic or Sentinels, right? Kind of stick with infantry, so. All right. Opting with the market start here. I have not figured out the TP starts where you do a market and a TP yet. I have to watch a few more videos. Again, I'm not the cleverest player, but at this point in the game, kind of looking at these two civs, I think they're pretty evenly matched. You've got Malta and Brits, both kind of age 2 agenda civs that both have very powerful booms. And they can go into the late game and scale amazingly. And then you have both Germany and France. I would say Germany more powerful in the mid game, France more powerful into the late game. But again, Germany sent all the eco cards in his deck that he would need to sustain their very coin intensive units. So, sorry, that was Brit. Pro casting here, folks. But again, he's got some cards. He should be able to sustain quite a bit. Really solid, again, from both players. So, looking at the line of sight, they've kind of scouted around. They haven't really seen what I'm doing, but, they probably figure France is there. Let's see. On our side, we haven't scouted him either, which we really should, but Pete is on his way right now to scout. Again, at some point, I have to keep an eye on these hunts because he starts to have problems with them. And that's always really, like, nerve-wracking. When you're playing against Germany, you know, herding is not just like a needed part, but like a just do or die. You know, you absolutely have to. It looks like, yep, Brits and Malta are up first. Sending 700 wood, so looks like Brits, yep, content to kind of boom a bit. You know, and again, Brit probably gets off the ground faster than Malta. Malta, of course, has, as I call it, winning court. Triple Carnimata, probably a card that is, you know, overtuned, but, you know, the Civ itself is balanced around it. But extremely powerful. So, me, let's see here, idling. Stable coming in the back there. He's got, oh, he still has those 2 vills out there. Interesting.
Ready?
Oh, it looks like maybe trying to treasure creep here a bit, get these bears, get that CDB. Yep, getting great coats. I believe that was me actually getting great. Let me check. Yep. Again, when you're up against Germany, you got to be careful. And there's the just beautiful pathing there, right? Trying to get my commandery down, trying to buy myself some time. Yeah, it looks like this hunt is trying to start to wander a bit. That can, again, you know, up against Ulans, you got to be really careful. But so far, Jaharns is just kind of holding him back, not really doing too much with them. Now it looks like he'll use them to scout. And I believe it was Kaiser that once said that, you know, that is one of the downsides to Germany is that, you know, because your Explorer is so valuable, even though he did not opt for a TP, you kind of have to keep your Ulans back a bit. And that can be a bit, but it looks like, oh, hello there. Yep. And I'm opting with the Sentinel start. I don't know if you guys have watched too many games, but you know, Sentinels got buffed. A little bit on range. Their card in the late game got buffed too. Really solid unit. And because of their speed, you can kind of give people the runaround. They do fall off into the late game, arguably. It's still very contentious if this unit's good or bad, but I think the general kind of feeling is that it's good in the early game, not so good in the late game. And yeah, just like that, looks like Pete's hunts are kind of going back. Always stressful when you're up against Germany. We got Musks out for Brit. So pretty standard play, you know. Opening stable for France, then pivoting into a barracks. Good, yeah, good standard play all around here. So it looks like these Ulans are kind of peeking around the back. You've got another batch of Ulans kind of taking the midpoint. Looks like he will see that, and that kind of sucks for me. Oh, wow, that's a lot. Yeah, it looks like as they're up here, am I going to get that? Nope, not getting that trading post up. And oh, no. Okay, so yeah, this part is brutal. And this is why you heard. Yeah, he's got a batch of Hussar coming out, but I mean, he's down to 15. I believe he was at 20, 21 CDB, 14 CDB, 13. Oh. You know, and there's the wood lost from that, and that's almost like GG right there. I mean, France is strong, but it's not really capable. I mean, he is going to definitely clean up these Ulans if he can get into contact with them. Looks like he does. Good micro, though, splitting up the cav. You know, something that we all should do more, or at least I should do more. But as he's, you know, messing around with these Ulans in the back, now he's got to contend with these Musketeers coming in. And yeah, I mean, at this point, score heavily in their favor. It's looking pretty rough here for Team P, yours truly. Kind of get a little bit lucky here. Kind of able to catch a few of them off guard. And, you know, these Ulans are running around, and if I remember right, they kind of run right into, and here's the thing, I mean, these Sentinels, they're almost like Halberdiers. These are not units you want to be tangling with. And, wow, I mean, Pete, he keeps some of his cav mass alive, and, you know, I think in hindsight, if these guys are watching it, they're probably kicking themselves, and, you know, I mean, but at the same time, the damage they've done is absolutely crippling, right? I mean, again, so many vills. And CDB at that, right? I mean, these take a little bit longer to train. They take a little bit longer to pay off. I mean, that's just at this point, it's their game to lose. So all Pete really has, he's got a pretty decent cav force, and we've got the Sentinel boys, Bone Watch, right? If anyone here has played the campaign, and just like that, the Ulons go around to go raid. It looks like they come to hit me now. I have Wignacourt in Winning Court. I'm shipping wood now. Yeah, and my economy is just, it's starting to kick in. Ooh. He does get a few vills, but I'm able to get him in the world's bravest settler wagon. And then looking at this again, something that people forget about these Sentinels. These Sentinels are pretty fast, and Pete now caught up there. Now I don't think that was the best call in hindsight, but he is able to get a good amount of work done, and now the Sentinels are in the aura of my defenses, and now these guys are going to absolutely do it. And again, that Yulon mass basically whittled down to nothing. And here's the thing, you can't really run from these guys because they're fast. Board Deus Volta down for the count, and now, yep, Brits are getting backing off. But I mean, look at the scores, right? Brit has been able to kind of boom behind this whole time. Look, I've got 33 bills. Germany, yes, 39 bills. And now Germany's at H3. Looks like he's macroed for a Merc shipment. No vills being produced, though. It's definitely something, Sharns, if you're watching this, your military control is really smooth, but you got to make sure to keep making vills, especially as Germany. Because just like France, I mean, you can get outscaled really hard, but, I mean, you've got 20 vills, including settler wagons, right, which do cost, count for a lot, versus 18 CDB, so you're doing probably just fine. Yeah, I think at this point, we're just kind of trying to run him around. We're just trying to figure out what to do, right? Pete's been absolutely crippled. My score is keeping up. Germany's score has dropped for some reason, but I believe it's because of all the coin he spent to get the mercenaries. Yeah, Pete's trying to scout around. Just see if he can buy time and try to get back into this game. And what we got? We got Ulons. Double racks. Production. Yep, queuing up vills again. Good job there. And I'm just hitting the Sentinel button. Way overgathered. Procasting Pro Macro right there. Yeah, buddy. Now, if I remember right, at this point, I just basically market abuse my way up. Probably longer than I'd like to admit. Oh man, casting on games. This is why we don't normally do that, but again, with so many games out, we're just trying to get some content, make sure there's plenty in. And again, hopefully I'll be able to cast this whole series here today. Again, Pete now picking up a few villagers, right? Again, buying time, keeping them on the back foot, but Brit here, he looks like he's still content to stay. Oh, good job there, Pete. Able to run away. Again, Pete, his cavalry pay is just absolutely monstrous. And he's doing exactly what you got to do in this position, right? If you know you're in the back, just idle and buy time, right? Ooh, God, that would have been deadly if it would have collapsed on that. So I think he comes back. I decide to understand what basic economic principles of barter system is, right? Trading to get my way up. And I believe I go up with the bishop, yep, for the extra town center. Pretty common one from Malta, especially in team games. Just now getting basic eco upgrades off my eco civ. I mean, yeah, look at that wood gather rate. That's just fucking, excuse my friends, that's just nutty. And again, that's the whole thing about Malta. It's a tough civ to get going sometimes, but once it gets going, it can just take off. Probably going to ship hospitality. Yep, shipping hospitality for a faster age up and cheaper upgrades to get the veteran. So you see this, it's not good. And at this point, he kind of comes in for a little bit of a debate. But that commandery will go down. And it looks like the whole time in the background, Pete is just in the back, prowling around, trying to find vills. Ooh, and he hits them. And that is going to cause a lot of idle time there for Brits. I'm trying to get vet. Looks like, yeah, the Ulans are kind of poking around, but they're not really able to do too much. And these Sentinels are already 203 HP base. They are not veteran yet. But here we go. We figure, alright, this is the big fight. The Ulans aren't vet yet. You know, again, the Hussar of France, almost twice as much HP. I mean, these veterans, I mean, these are Brit Musk too, and they are carded at least once. Let's see. Wow. Oh, good job getting Pete. Perfect micro there, right? Again, I mean, Pete here is just playing like an absolute beast to keep us in this game. Making all the right calls with his cavalry. And just like that, I mean, Germany, you know, again, these Jaegers kind of forced to trade here with Sentinels. Yep, send team HP, heavy HP, but it doesn't do anything for these Jaegers. And he's forced back. You know, again, they do have most of the map control, though, right? So they're sitting okay. Town center here, kind of defensive. Not the best town center. If I could do this again, I'd probably want to put it here. Okay, stacking 2 shipments. So that was an intense fight. And again, we're all human here, right? But the 2 shipment save up can really slow down momentum in the worst of times. Okay, comes here. Looks for a raid. I think snags some more vills.
I feel a bit strengthened now.
Kind of looks like they really smart again too. You know, this was went by Team Scala, Jaharns and Comendi. Did a really good job, I think, reacting quickly to things. I mean, I think we were a bit stronger often on the macro, but I mean, these guys' micro and game sense and game calls was really smooth, you know, throughout all the series. So just props to them, like now being able to watch all of it and not being focused, try to boom for my life. Again, if you look at the score here, Malta's taken off. You know, again, France has had a tough time of things, but this is where Malta gets deadly, right? Because every time they get a shipment, they scale, right? The 2%. They have pretty good cards that scale their units. Their units are relatively cost effective, and so you know you have stuff like this where yeah these Sentinels, I mean they're just taking shots from the Jaegers here. And these Jaegers, you know, they have to be careful because they know that this Hussar are just lurking around. Good job there though, spreading out their vills, getting map control. You know, getting 43 vills, 28, 49. So I've almost caught up now with Brits. Big amount of Hussar coming out, or sorry, not Hussar, Ulans. Oh man, I could have lost some vills there. And these vills do not look long for the world. Oh man, good raid there by Jaharns. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name, man. It is, just leave a comment or something and just be like, please, brother, do better. But I mean, he gets a few of my vills, but I mean, at this point, he's only got 26. He's not really able to keep up. I've got 3 TCs, and I haven't sent Vittorioso yet, but I definitely can. And again, these Hussar now, helping clean up. Losing more vills there, just, you know, just Malta things. No big deal when you've down now to 38 when you were almost at 49, but I do have, I think, Max Settler Wagon idling. I think at some point I clean up, yeah, right here it gets pretty good. And again, these Ulans kind of zoned off now, and yeah, Brits are going to be up, so I would expect to see Veteran Musketeer here fast. And again, pop to pop, range to range. I mean, these Brit Musk are already better pop to pop. They are a lot more expensive, though. And again, Sentinels, they're a really strange unit. Really, though, he needs to call them other country. Don't be too proud, Kobendi. Yep, Q and Vills for days. And no, I'm just making Sentinels. I'm just real flexible army here, right, guys? Just keep clicking the button. But hey, it's worked so far, and again, against this composition of heavy cav mostly and musketeer, it's probably one of Malta's best options, because as long as I sit around my defensive buildings, I do pretty solid. Okay, looks like Pete recognizing that there's a good raid opportunity there. You know, and in hindsight too, these Jaegers were perhaps a bit of a missed, use. You might have had some more value booming. And again, this is so tough, especially for a civ like Germany that really thrives on tempo and aggression. Sometimes, but these mercs, they haven't really been able to use too much. I mean, that could have been 1,000 coin that could have gone towards unit upgrades or going all the way to 4. Lots of options. But holy Falks, yep. Well, this changes the equation, right? These Sentinels are good, but they're not good enough to deal with all that, so... with this, we just kind of have to sit back and, yep, panic make some artillery foundries. Looks like Advanced Arsenal is in. So these are fast Sentinels. They get a little bit of extra damage. Where's this HP one? I think Flip Pockets damage. And yeah, that town center's just going to get shredded. Pull my Vills back. Again, our scores are starting to even, but it's very much like a paper tiger. I mean, this is deadly. And if Brick gets Vet Musketeer, he could get pretty soon here. When finally in with Veteran Ulons, yeah, this is a death ball. Oh, and just like that though, Pete, I missed an incredible raid there by Pete. Again, all game, Pete running around, look at that, raiding there, just keeping them off balance, not allowing them to concentrate all their forces, or at least forcing them to idle, which just helps, deal with, this mass here. And I think at this point we are, yeah, I'm horribly pop capped, but to get my market back up, I'm able to, again, engage in some capitalism. Or the barter system. I guess I don't know which one the market theory. And try to get back into this, because yeah, this is 45 Vills, losing how, I mean, this just super popped here. Again, kind of a little bit of a misclick. He kind of pulls his stuff back. I think at this point, I'm almost just like, F it. Like, we got to do something, right? But yeah, my entire main is gone. And again, the scores, they're kind of in our favor, but this doesn't feel in your favor. And I think at one point I tried to snipe him, and then I see, like, yeah, look at that, just pissing away units. Like, it's even pretty grim here, and it's looking like, I mean... But look, and just like that, here come the cavalry, right? Pete, perfect timing, goes in, just kind of buys time, right? And I think he had tried to kind of push him around, but realizes we're not going to get it. I finally have enough houses. I wish I knew where my market was, because I know I put it up somewhere. Did I put it in the corner? Yep. And again, once these culverins come out, it's basically like do or die time, because this cannonball, death ball is getting really deadly. Just losing Vills again. Again, we're not bros here. That's what kind of makes it entertaining. Looking in the backfield, because here I think comes the big fight. Yep, once the town center's down. And it's like, all right, I've got Colves. Let's go. And there's one Colv. I think the other one is, bespoke pathfinding. Actually dodging a cannon shot, looks like. When the pathing saves your life. And, again, I'm losing most of my Sentinel mass here, but I think we're overall kind of doing alright here. And again, once the cannons are gone, I mean, those Colves made good work. Pete's 2 Falks, I believe, back here, they also made good work. And just like that, I mean, they were kind of stuck to a standstill again. And, Brit's score is looking pretty amazing. He's definitely got more Vills, but I mean, I've got that 30% winning cord kind of kicking in. I'm still on natural res. And, and I do have to pull back here. Okay, more Vills lost. I do have Vittorioso, so they only cost like 30 food. And again, I mean, at this point, I mean, it's just feeling rough, right? We've been on the back foot the entire game. Pete's come back in the best he can, right? I mean, he's got 36 Vills, Quaid's got 55, Jarn's got 29. but I mean we're losing map control, right? And the more we lose map control, the worse it gets. But then here comes Pete with like a last hurrah Falc pop, and this is just again using the cab to snare. At some point, I think he breaks off to go deal with these Jaegers. Yep. I mean, these Sentinels, man, they're just so fast. They've got the advanced arsenal upgrades in. They're going to be able to chase down. Looks like the Cav kind of run off. And just like that, we went from pretty outscored to now we are back to even. We're kind of like, all right, you know, we've got got 2 TCs now, almost 3 TCs now. We'll just keep booming. I'm being like, no, 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 let's go, let's go. Poking around. And, you know, again, at this point, we're starting to stabilize. Again, France was crippled earlier, but those CDB, they do scale slowly but surely. So Pete's feeling a lot better. I'm stacking a lot of wood. Do I squires or do I save it? I think I stack it. And I realize, again, gauging some market eco here. No, I do not stack it. Pistol Pete's doing good. And over here on the side of the committee, what are they? Okay. He's at 58 Vils, 32 now. You know, they're kind of settling in for the long game, right? Because most of the map resources are starting to be exhausted. There are the ones over here. But again, Germany has quite a bit of cards, so you might as well. But again, his pop is really low. Perhaps all these housing. Well, I guess it doesn't matter as much because he has Palatine settlements. Oh, and here we go. Brit now, kind of a bit out of position. I remember being like, Gates. Just like that, going up a little bit. Healing on idle too, and again, Malta, you know, at this point, Malta's feeling pretty good. I remember thinking like, I think we're going to be okay now. And decide, again, I try not to spam too much, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And just like that, pissing away units, platypus special here. But again, you know, with some of the longer range and the speed, I mean, these Sentinels are doing okay. I don't think he sees this, but now it looks like he's kind of scouting. Looks like he's going to go raid Pete, and God, Pete's just having the worst time this game. But back here comes the big boy. Cannon goes down, and just like that, their push is stalled out. And again, these fixed cannons, man, personally, I think they probably should be a little bit less on the range, but they do serve a purpose for Malta, which Malta otherwise cannot function, right? They need to buy time. Malta does not have a 2 Falc shipment. It's, especially in 1v1s, really struggles with tempo. So these things are kind of essential, I think, to buy time. You know, it's not the, that's what I'm looking for. Not the most elegant solution, but it does the job, and they are pretty fun, you know. Just blowing up houses from 60 range away. Good lord. Look at that, 52 Vils, almost popped out. There again, this is where the downside of the Sentinels. They take up so much pop, and they're not the most efficient. If you compare the stats of 2 veteran Musketeer, right, you're going to get way more value per pop. And there's Pete again. You know, losing a few Vils here and there. But I just saw some of his Vils, and, oh, missing another Pistol Pete raid. His specialty. I mean, God, and again, even though Pete got crippled, I mean, earlier, he's done just an absolute fantastic job to stay in this game. Really showing again why he's an extremely strong player. Just his game sense and his game knowledge, right? And now it looks like, you know, our score's starting to kick in. The score's starting to swing our way. And despite the beatings we've taken all game, Pete's constant raids, combined, I think, with holding and taking kind of smart fights, you know, taking my whole eco and migrating it, losing the main, you know, and here's where Malta gets icky, right? Because now Malta can start just locking the map down. Yeah, looks like I'm on mills too now. Malta does get good mills, which is a boon for the Civ. And again, Pete with another raid. Again, just giving him the runaround this entire game. And look, it's causing a little bit of an overreaction. Germany now going into skirms, and that is not Germany's ideal unit to make. Germany in 2v2s can be very strong and very weak, and it really just depends on the unit compositions of the allies, because these veteran skirms are just not going to compete with a lot of other units at this point. And then just like that, every time Pete kind of strikes, right, I kind of go and poke the bear a little bit. I need the pos space anyways. Stack and res. And at first we were going to push, but then I realized, like, hey, I can go 4. And, once these things get 4, you're right, you send the rockets, and they get pretty gnarly. And again, we're just kind of, pushing around. Pretty good fight here. Don't think it's the best fight ever, but again, I'm almost like just hungry for pop space, right? Now I've got 63 bills. Pistol Pete's got 50. Kamei's only got 65, and Shaharn's got 50, right? Maltese eco is going to be stronger for most of that. I did destroy Pete's town center, but there wasn't really that much there, And those could have been here defending his base, right? Because instead what happens, he loses a good amount. Yeah, and, again, these scores now very tight. A game that was almost looked like it was over a few minutes before is competitive once more. So kind of the same thing here. I think I lose this town center, and it's just like, again, not the best mill placement, but now you've got French skirms out. Got taken there, and yeah, we're just buying time, right? We aged up, siege some manners, try to get some line of sight back. Once that comes in, that is going to be very important. And Pistol Pete here, also stacking wood, his personal favorite. Yep, coming out with a fort wagon. Stacking food, so yeah, everyone here is probably tired too. It's also been 31 minutes of a pretty intense game, so I think all of us get a little bit of a break. And now I'm just waiting for the guard upgrades to come in, Comedy. Yeah, guard sentinels 54, and then once the rockets come in, it's basically like, all right, it's go time. And so again, we are able to kind of beat down that force, and pretty good trade here, I think, by us, right? Because we did lose town centers, but we were already mostly boomed. And we didn't really lose the map control or the natural res. Flintlock rockets now in for Malta, and this is where they just get silly. 382 HP. MOBA rockets. Yeah, they're good, but they're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, cannon good, right? But at this point, my score is starting to skyrocket. Pete's score is now starting to catch up with Brit's. Things are looking really solid here for Team P. And again, we've been on the back foot the whole game, but now we're the ones exerting pressure. Now we're the one pushing. Unless they want to get Colves, they have all these Falcons, and Falcons aren't bad, but, and you've got Colves, but this is a lot of artillery here. This is a really good composition, I think, by them. Get 65 vills, though. This force is causing me to be overpopped, because this is, what, 160, 120 population, plus, there's settler wagons and stuff, so... And yeah, I think if you're Brits, you're kind of starting to realize, like, hey, this game's slipping away from us. We had such a good time, but they were just never able to land a critical blow, and now they're kind of forced to be in the aggressive. There's, again, me kind of pissing away units, but those rockets, man, getting work done, and then running back to the safety of the fixed gun. There's now 41 range. More than a mortar, because reasons. 5 AoE. I mean, look at that. And here come the Falcons from Pete. Perfect placement there. You know, even though they dove underneath this fixed gun, yeah, they're just not able to. They're not focusing on the fixed gun either. So this fixed gun's getting a lot of work. A lot of Doppel Soldier, pretty interesting tech thing. But again, I mean, look at their hand attack, 24. The 50 hand attack of the Sentinels. I mean, they'll destroy any cav that they touch. But you know, again, these cannons are moving around. These Dops are just getting shredded. Looks like I've got Order Hussar coming out now. They are trading fast because I said the Squire's tech, a really good tech. Again, with this and the French tech, 512 HP, 52 attack, you know, free Shadow Tech guard. And just like that, we're cleaning up. And I mean, at this point, we're kind of like, guys, I think, you know, we're telling Pete, I think we win this. You know, despite, you know, he's got some raids back here. I think it's over. And again, Maltese units, they're teching up, about to send 2 forts, right? So absolutely locking the map down. Still building vills behind us the whole time. And yeah, that was a huge investment. And the score of both these players just dropped. And, you know, if you're looking at their resources, not able to go up, I think, soon enough to H4. Again, British Musketeer are no joke, but ship my wagons to the middle of nowhere. Of course I did. You know, shipment points are better when they're moved, but I think at this point, yeah, it's starting to grind. My score is now almost double. And yeah, this is where the mobile rockets, they just don't care. Battle, what do they call it? Charge attack, battle buster or something. Whatever it is, as you can see, it shreds. And these Sentinels are just absolutely silly. Yeah, these Dops even, they're not going to be able to do much. That's a huge investment, right? Doppel Soldiers, very expensive units, and Sentinels, their res costs are really not that expensive, even with the card that adds more. I think I'm going to probably ship a factory. Nope, not even a factory. Just stacking going, and I think like this is basically over. And I mean, we're just ecstatic. I mean, I don't even know how we pulled that off, other than just Pete's perfect timing. He's got cross EA everywhere. He was able to stay in that game and make all the right choices, and GGs are called. And yeah, if you're watching this, I hope you really enjoy this so far, because this was a pretty incredible comeback. Definitely one of the highlight of the series for me and Pete. You know, we were able to come back from a pretty crushing defeat in the beginning, and I mean, these guys, we didn't really know anything about them. They kind of got bye weeks for most of the series, so they're totally unknown factor. But they came out swinging hard, and they made really good calls throughout the entire game. I felt like they just weren't able to land that critical blow. Anyone that's fought Malta in particular knows how kind of frustrating that can be. But when you play Malta, you know how like razor thin that margin can be, where you basically try not to lose long enough to win. Yeah, look at the res gathered. Military. And that's ultimately what it is, right? You know, Brits were just not able to get much, you know, use out of their muskets. Let's look at the villager pop, though. Yeah, 22 to 12. Almost half of his eco gone in a flash. But then look at the other guys. You know, and again, I didn't do the best either protected, but he stays several times raiding, stay in that game. And looking at the population here, military, you know, despite all that, how rough those raids were, we did take good fights. And if you look at it, I think this is ultimately why we're able to win, right? Just because we keep our military numbers high, we try not to take bad fights. Pete keeps them on the back foot, so they're never able to really fully commit, I think, where they want to. Okay, yeah, Malta Brits stay on the top, and again, Germany, despite having a pretty promising lead and all of the loss, it's hard to see with all of those. lines a bunch together, but he's just able, again, that's the power of France. Those CDB, man, they scale forever. It's slow, but it's very steady. If you look at idle, yeah, stuff like that is what keeps us in the game, I think, ultimately. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this match. Again, the solo cast will be a rarity. This is more just trying to make sure that everyone gets the chance to come out and show all of the series. I'm going to cast game 2 and 3 of this shortly afterwards. So I guess a little bit of a spoiler. It does go to game 3. So these guys clearly come back swinging. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, and we'll try to, now that the semifinals are almost done, we're going to, or the semifinals are about to start. We hope to get as many series, as many games as we can to showcase all of those vaunted, players that came out, played their hearts out, and unfortunately weren't able to make the cut. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next one.